had already touched ground.
Hold on, Chris. Hold on. 2 minutes ago, I don't know if this is a Woj bomb, maybe a Woj grenade. Free agent
when
center.
It breaks, we have it first.
Free agent.
Sactown Sports breaking news.
Free agent center Orlando Robinson has agreed on a 1-year deal with the Sacramento Kings, sources tell ESPN.
Drop top, raindrop.
Yeah, I mean, Orlando's been a name that he's been on the Miami Heat, so I think that's definitely a good sign if you're somebody who, wholly believes in Heat culture. And this is a young depth center, hasn't really gotten a lot of NBA time so far. He's averaged throughout his career 2 seasons in Miami, 3.2 points per game, 3.1 rebounds per game. Hasn't displayed much shot blocking, only 0.4 blocks. His rookie season, 0.2. This past season, he is a legit 7-footer. He went to Fresno State, so some local-ish ties, I guess you could say. Is just kind of somebody who's been looking to get a foothold in the league, and I think it's a really good developmental player to take here for Sacramento. He spent his entire career with the Miami Heat, so he's got some good foundation in terms of work ethic, and you do have to, Miami is very rigid with their conditioning and making sure all of their guys kind of are in shape their entire time in Miami, so you definitely know he's well disciplined. And I think that it's a good risk, I think, for the Kings to take with a young center, legit 7-footer, and I think he does have some rim protection potential there. Just hasn't really been able to display it much. So I think this is a really good signing for them. Obviously, not something that's going to be a big mover and shaker, but we'll definitely, I think, see some Orlando Robinson throughout the year. It's just, I think it's just a bet on a young player.
So
it's a dice roll.
So, is this a situation where G League, or you're just saying he won't play much, or anything is possible?
Yeah, I mean, I would just guess that anything's possible. I would assume he's definitely played some time in the G League, but in terms of NBA, his rookie season, 31 games played, 1 game started. Last season with Miami, 36 games played, 7 games in which he actually started. Let me see his game logs last year. Let me see if he had any significant performance. He did have a 16-point game last season against Indiana. He also had a 15-12 game with 4 assists as well. This is actually the biggest number that I'm looking at that's jumping off the page here. Last season, again, hasn't really played many minutes, but in games in which he played more than, let's see here. He played 22 minutes, got 2 assists, 12 minutes, 2 assists, 27 minutes, 2 assists, 19 minutes, 3 assists, 29 minutes, 3 assists, 33 minutes, 4 assists, 26 minutes, 7 assists in 1 game. Clearly has a bit of playmaking in his bag, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's the thing that Monty McNair and crew kind of saw in him, is that he does bring a little bit of that Domas action into his game, and he definitely is a really good rebounder as well. A couple multi-offensive rebound games. He had 8 games in which he had more than 1 offensive rebound. So definitely is somebody who's going to hit the glass, and if he can move the ball like how his numbers might say he can, definitely could be a sneaky addition for the Kings to kind of seamlessly continue to run their offense a little bit. I'm not saying Orlando Robinson's going to get that Domas role, but I think they clearly like to have these big men that can move the ball a bit, and I think that's a really good young player for this team to kind of take a little bit of a dice roll on.
Well, when you get upset or whatever you want to call it with the Kings, when they continue to add guards, let's give them their just due and say, hey, they went out and got a big man, right? And they added some length here. I'm checking out some of these highlights right now. Chris, obviously it's G League, but do like what I see so far. And like
I assume a rim runner. I would guess somebody who's getting a lot of lobs.
Rim runner, a little bit of a midi as well. So I think that there's probably something there, and we're about to find out how much is there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a good bet too, because like I just said too, the Kings definitely need a little bit of some center depth and some forward depth for sure. This is definitely going to be somebody who's Alex Len is 100% ahead of him on the depth chart, I would imagine, going into the season, just with his experience and and everything he brings. But Orlando is another really big body, and I think maybe you have to start to think about, not that Orlando is the answer to this, but again, with him bringing some Sabonis features with, and maybe I'm reading way too much into his assist numbers there, but you just don't really see big men get those. I mean, Harrison Barnes would go multiple games, no, not to just send a straight HB, but more just to point out, you don't have to get assists. That doesn't just come with minutes. You can definitely have a big man who's getting 1 assist, if not 0 assists. So the fact that he's got some or multiple games of having multiple, to me, tells me he's got it in his bag quite a bit. So you got to maybe think, hey, what if Sabonis doesn't play 82 games? Alex Len presumably starts. Orlando Robinson could get some of the time at backup center. So I definitely think this is a good thought process, but I will say probably not a great look for our guy, Drew Timme.
That's a great point. That is a great point. What was his 3-point numbers, Chris? I just saw him hit a 3, and I just saw him hit another 3.
In the pros, it wasn't anything crazy that I saw.
If he's wide open.
I mean, yeah, he shot 50. Well, I mean, yeah, he shot 53% on 0.4 attempts per game. So not really much of any sample size there in the pros, but definitely might have been. I can look up his G League numbers real quick, but yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't suspect that it's a massive part of his game, especially if he hasn't been doing it in the pros, and maybe if it's just in the G League, that could just, that's for development. So maybe he's a little bit more willing to let that thing go from 3. Let's see here as we look at his splits. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tale of 2 seasons. His first season in the G League, he took 2 threes a game. He shot it at 16%. Last season in the G League, took 1.8 threes and shot it at 37%. So it's clearly something that he's trying to work on. I'd imagine it's something he was told quite frequently in his as a prospect getting into the league. I will say, really bad free throw shooter, 64% in the G League. His first season on 4.2 attempts, second season 4.2 attempts, also shot 63%. So that's not a great sign for his development from beyond the arc. I will say, though, some of these G League numbers, and definitely take it with a grain of salt because it's G League, but some of these G League numbers, Alan, are insane. Yeah. Only played 9 games down there in the G League, but in those 9 games, 24 points per game, shot 57%. As I mentioned, 37% from 3, 11.7 rebounds per game, with 5 of those being offensive rebounds. 5 offensive rebounds per game he averaged through a 9-game stretch in the G League. 2 assists per game, 3.3 turnovers, a little concerning, 1.3 steals, and 2.1 blocks at the G League level, 8 double-doubles in 9 games, again, in the G League so far, 23 points per game, 12.3 rebounds. So definitely somebody who is cooked at the G League level and looking to kind of find a little bit of footing at the pros. So definitely a great, if he is going to play some games for Stockton, is going to be a really good addition down there. But of course, we have our eyes focused on the Sacramento club, and that part is still, I think, a bit of a question in terms of what his role is going to be with this team.
Coming up next, we get back into the Brett Siegel piece and what the Kings offered